journalize the closing entries. Obviously on the worksheet, we've got we've got our trial balance. Then we do our adjustments. Of course, we've been working on these already for a couple chapters. And then our closing entries, our income statement, and our balance sheet. So these are like the final numbers after we make all the adjustments. So I've got my blank general journal, and we've got our examples start on page 488 in the book. So we got our general journal, title, because the other side was a general journal also, so we titled it Adjusting Entries. So for section 2, closing entries, so we'll put a title on this one, so when it goes in the hypothetical books and then gets looked at later, we know that this log is for closing entries. So in closing entries, it's the end of the year, so December 31st. So just like the example shows in the book, we start with sales. So we're going to get our sales from the income statement section from our worksheet. So we got our worksheet. We got sales. It was on the back side of it. Income statement, so our sales credit $430,000, $521.58. And it's showing here on the worksheet that it's in the credit column. But in our closing entries, we're going to enter that in the debit column. So in the debit, $430, $521.58. So the next one, we have our purchases discounts, and then our purchases returns and allowances. So we got our purchases discount. So just a few lines down from our sales. So we've got our purchases discount in the credit, $345.25, but put it on the journal, we're going to put it in the debit column. $345.25 in the debit. Then our next line, we're going to put our purchases allowances. So that's up here in that sales section, returns and allowances. not working out right here. Sorry, I kind of got stuck here. Something's not right. What am I missing? Hold on a second. Okay, purchases, returns, and allowances, the 5548.74. All is right in the world now. Brain freeze. So that's going to go here in the debit column. 5548.74. So then we're going to have our income summary. So what we're going to do is just, for income summary, add up all three of these. And that's going to go into the credit column, where they were originally on the worksheet. So I've already got the answer here from last year, so it comes out to be 436, 415, 57 cents. $415.57. So there's that section. Okay, now for the next step, we're going to list income summary again. And December 31st. And then we're going to add, we're going to list all this information, then add all that up and enter that number here in this spot for income summary. So before we fill anything in for this one, we're going to enter in all of our sales discounts, our returns and allowances, advertising expenses, the other expenses. We're going to add all those up, and we're going to put that total up here for step 4. So we've got sales discount, sales returns and allowances, purchases, so basically we're going to list everything. So we start a sales discount. Everything on our worksheet through federal income tax expense. So we've got a couple things, and all this stuff is going to go in the credit column, just like it shows in the worksheet. So on the worksheet it's in the debit. On our general journal we're going to list it in the credit. And so we've got a couple things. Our purchases discount, returns and allowances, make sure they're not on there. Yeah, we've already got those listed up here on the top. So we're not going to list that. We're not going to list that. So everything on your worksheet from line 30 through 48, except these two items that we've already listed in the top part, because we've already got our purchases discount and our returns and allowances up here, so we don't need to list those again. We're only going to list expenses. So we got purchases, advertising expense, cash short and over, credit card fee, depreciation expense office, depreciation store, insurance expense, miscellaneous expense, payroll tax expense, rent expense, Collectibles accounts expense. Utilities. Federal income tax expense. So I've got all my lines labeled. Now I just need to go through and fill all the numbers in. The sales discount, $215. Yeah, another one of those spots where you want to make sure you don't accidentally miss a line. Okay, so I got all the expenses written down. So like it says in step 4, add up the credit amounts and write the total for the credit amounts up here in that spot for income summary. I've already got the answer from last year. It usually takes several attempts before it comes out right. I add all these up. They come up to 364. $9.80 and 63 cents. Actually, the one I've got from last year is easier to read. So $364,980 and 63 cents is what everything in this credit column is going to add up to. So add all those up and go back and fill that in. And then we're almost done. So now we're going to write down our income summary again. So 31st. Income summary. And well, we're going to get that. It's going to be our net income after federal taxes. So we're not going to use the one up here, because as you remember, we're going to add up all the columns on our worksheet anyway. So on our worksheet, all this stuff's already been accounted for. So we're just accounting for it on the general journal. So we're not going to use our income summary up here. We're going to use our net income after federal tax for our income summary amount here for our closing entries. So we'll put that in the debit column. $283.19. So like it shows in the book, our next entry after that's going to be retained earnings. We're just going to write the same amount down in the credit column. Retained earnings, $73,283.19. And then we're still going to have another entry for retained earnings right underneath this one. Retained earnings and dividends. Now we go to our worksheet. We find our dividends. It's already listed on here. So that's $16,000. So you see it's listed in the debit column. So for our retained earnings on this one, we're going to list that in the debit column as well. But then when we add the line, we're going to put that entry in the credit column. Like that. So now, I really don't want to go to the trouble of doing this, but if you want to, you can. If anybody's brave enough to take this on. But both columns, when you add them up, they should equal. So I know there's some big numbers here because you kind of look at this first glance. 430, 364. Well, you've already got 436 here and 174 there, another 100,000 here, 20,000. So you throw all these other big, not as big as this. Both of these columns should equal up, but we don't have. That's not part of it. Just throwing that out there. If you're really looking for something to do, you could do that. So that's section 2. Work together, so now you can tackle the on your own.